Well, good evening, fans, and welcome to the 1993 recap of the Historical Baseball Project season featuring the Cincinnati Reds and the Texas Rangers here on the Epic Sports Broadcasting Network. My name is Dave Little, and I thank you for joining us here for this week's recap of the games played August 1st through the 15th in the 1993 season. We will kick things off with the American League with the National League standings entering the month of August. So this is before this week's games were played. And as you can see in the AL West, the Braves and Giants are still battling it out, both with very impressive winning percentages. Atlanta with a 2-game lead. And if you recall, in the real 1993 season, the Braves won the division by 1 game, racking up 104 wins compared to 103 for the Giants, and they are both on that pace. And everybody else in the division is an also-ran, including my beloved Cincinnati Reds, who come in at 50 and 55, as they are dropping back not only from the middle of the pack, but from the 500 mark. The Reds that year won 73 games and had a tremendous tailspin at the end of the season that took them well out of contention even for breaking 500. In the American League East, the Phillies are on top with a 5.5 game lead over the Chicago Cubs. In terms of individual performances, take a look at Andres Galarraga. He is on a tear. His batting average is up to .398 on the season, and he has the chance, with a couple months left, to threaten the 400 mark. Barry Bonds is still on an MVP pace with 33 home runs and 103 RBIs. And his teammate Matt Williams has also already hit the 100 RBI mark before the 1st of August. Phil Plantier from San Diego still leads the league with 38 home runs, and we'll see Plantier visiting Cincinnati during this week's action. Bill Swift is still the best pitcher in the league with 16 wins against 3 losses and a 2.25 ERA. And of course, those 3 stud starters for the Braves, you see, Greg Maddux, Steve Avery, and John Smoltz, all among the league ERA leaders and among the league wins leaders. Brian Harvey on top of the league with those 27 saves for the Florida Marlins. In terms of the Cincinnati Reds individual statistics, Kevin Mitchell has come off the leaderboards because he had to rest most of July due to overusage considerations. He still sports a fine .378 batting average. And in terms of the regular everyday players for the Reds, you can see Reggie Sanders and Chris Sabo both playing every game and batting in the .270 range with very similar numbers, 16 home runs and 64 RBIs for Reggie Sanders. Sabo close behind, 13 homers and 58 RBIs. And the pitching staff for the Reds, Jose Rijo is 10-7 with a 3.31 ERA. He is the ace of the staff. His wins and losses are closer to the 500 mark than we would like, but he's sporting a fine ERA. Tim Belcher also with a 3.11 ERA and 6-6 by way of a record. The saves leader for the Reds remains Jeff Reardon, who has 17 of them, but also 7 losses in 10 decisions and a 5.56 ERA. So it has been a struggle for the Reds pitching staff from top to bottom. That is your National League update. Let's take a look now at the American League. In the AL East, it remains a dogfight. Baltimore is on top by 2 games over New York, and that's all in the wins column. Toronto still in the thick of it at 58 and 47, just 4 games back. Cleveland and Detroit also above 500 and hanging around the periphery of the AL East race. In the West, Chicago White Sox have continued to build upon their lead. They're up 6 games now over California. And our own Texas Rangers are hanging in there at 53 and 52. They're going to need to make a run to get back into the thick of things in the division. We'll see if that can happen over the final 2 months of play. Ken Griffey Jr. is still setting the world on fire with 44 home runs and 106 RBIs, although his batting average has fallen out and he is out of the top 5. The same thing is true for Juan Gonzalez, who's actually been slumping. His batting average has fallen substantially, but he still has a very impressive total of 38 home runs. And actually, Rafael Palmeiro from Texas is now the team leader in RBIs with 82. Your batting average leaders, Harold Baines back on top at 372. John Olerud close behind, also tearing the cover off the baseball. The ERA leader in the American League is Roger Clemens from the Red Sox, who has a 2.52 ERA in spite of only a 6-7 one-loss record for the Red Sox, who are only 49-56 on the regular season. The top overall pitcher in the league is Kevin Appier, 14-7 with a 2.69 ERA. And close behind him, Wilson Alvarez from the White Sox with 15 wins against 5 losses and an ERA of 3.75. Individual statistics for the Texas Rangers. Juan Gonzalez is, the batting average has come down. He was up, 340, 350. But he has come down to 318. Still a fine batting average, 38 home runs, 77 RBIs. Rafael Palmeiro hanging around the 300 mark, also with 24 home runs, and as we mentioned, leading the team with 82 RBIs. David Hulse batting 300 in platoon duty in center field. And Dean Palmer struggling defensively, only batting 240, but's got good power numbers with 25 home runs, 78 runs batted in for Texas. The Rangers pitching staff remains a mess. Nolan Ryan is actually looking pretty good. He is 6-3 with a 2.76 ERA, but he in limited starts. The two top guys, Kevin Brown and Kenny Rogers, continue to struggle with ERAs above 4 3/4 and losing records on the 1-loss mark. Roger Pavlik still leads the team with 9 wins and a 4.31 ERA. Tom Henke comes in at 23 saves and really a nice 2.89 ERA. Todd Burns has contributed some nice things out of the bullpen as well for the Rangers. And that is your individual and team updates from the statistics. Now let's go to the week in review on the field. And we will start once again with the Cincinnati Reds. Let's bring the Reds results up onto the screen. The Reds began the week with a 3-game set hosting the San Diego Padres. And here we see those box scores. The Padres jumped out to the Wild win in the opener of the homestand by a score of 11-9. It was a wild opener that saw the Padres break open a tight game with 3 runs in the 5th inning and 3 more in the 6th, thanks to misplayed balls in the outfield by Cincinnati's Thomas Howard and Gary Varsho. Trailing 11-3, the Reds rallied late before Trevor Hoffman came on to close out the San Diego victory. National League home run leader Phil Plantier crushed his 39th of the season for the victorious Padres. The Reds came back to win the final 2 games of the series. On July 31st, it was a 10-inning victory for the Reds on heroics by Reggie Sanders. Sanders hit a home run in the bottom of the 8th to send this one into the extra innings. And after San Diego scored a run in the top of the 10th, Sanders drove in the tying run with a base hit in the bottom of the 10th and then dashed home on a hit by Juan Samuel for the game winner. So kudos to Reggie Sanders for a big game on July 31st, allowing the Reds to even the series with the Padres. And on August 1st, Jose Rijo took the ball for the Reds and pitched Cincinnati to victory after a tight duel with Andy Benes. A 2-run homer by Chris Sabo in the 6th inning provided the margin of victory for Cincinnati, Phil Plantier homered again for the Padres. That gave him 40 on the season on the 1st of August. After that, the Reds welcomed the Colorado Rockies to town for a 4-game set. And we will take a look at games 1 and 2 here as the Reds and Rockies split the first two. The Reds took game 1 of the series 4-1 behind Tim Belcher, who dominated Colorado. And the Reds got a 3-run homer from Randy Milligan to propel them to victory. After Belcher allowed an unearned run in the first inning, he set down 19 of the next 20 batters that he faced. And Belcher helped himself at the plate with an RBI single in the 5th inning to tie the game. And the score remained tied until the 8th when Mulligan hit the big fly to provide the winning runs for Cincinnati. 9th inning home runs on August 3rd by Andres Galarraga and Darrell Boston broke open a 2-2 tie and gave Colorado the victory in the second game of the series. This was a tight pitchers duel between Colorado's Armando Reynoso and Cincinnati's Tim Pugh through 7 innings. But the Rockies got to Reds reliever Jerry Spradlin in the 9th to eke out the victory as the Reds left 10 runners on base. Back in action on August 4th, it was the Reds busting out for 9 runs in the second inning and coasting to victory. Big night for Gary Varsho. The backup outfielder homered and drove in 8 runs, including a grand slam home run to cap the 9-run outburst. John Smiley was the beneficiary of the onslaught, and Rob Dibble earned a 3-inning save despite allowing 5 runs in his 3 innings of work. Rough year for Dibble. And on August 5th, it was the Rockies who took their turn busting out the whooping sticks as they pounded on Jose Rijo for 9 runs on 14 hits over 5 innings of work to gain the split of the 4-game series. 2 more home runs for Andres Galarraga, giving him 5 over the last 3 games of the series. Charlie Hayes also homered twice for Colorado en route to a 4-hit night. Finally, the Reds closed out the fortnight with a 3-game set against the Atlanta Braves. And the Reds saw 3 big-time pitchers in that series: Avery, Glavine, and Maddox. In Game 1, the series opener was a thrilling matchup as Avery battled Jose Rijo into the 7th inning. Avery left the game in the 7th with a 2-1 lead, but Joe Oliver led off the bottom of the 9th with a home run to tie the game for the Reds. The bullpens battled into the 11th when Reds pinch hitter Hal Morris led off with a single, moved to second on a balk by Jay Howell. Atlanta nearly dodged the bullet, but with 2 outs, Roberto Kelly grounded a single to score Morris and give Cincinnati the walk-off victory over the division-leading Braves. But the Braves came back to take the last 2 games of the series behind fine pitching performances by Tom Glavine and Greg Maddux. Atlanta had their revenge jumping on Tim Belcher in Game 2 for 12 hits and 10 runs over 7 innings. Glavine enjoyed a 10-1 lead before the Reds came back with 5 runs in the 7th to knock Glavine out of the game, but the rally was too little and too late. The Braves pounded 3 home runs off Tim Belcher, and Kevin Mitchell went deep twice for the Reds in the defeat. And finally, on August 15th, it was Greg Maddux with a complete game 6-hitter in the series finale to pick up his 13th win of the season for the Braves. Home runs by Sid Bream and Damon Berryhill propelled the Braves' offense. But after Atlanta put up 3 runs in the 3rd, the outcome of this one was never in doubt. So the Reds finished the month at 5-5. Let's take a look at the Rangers' performance for the first 2 weeks of August. The Rangers started off the week with a 4-game set against the division-leading Chicago White Sox. On August 2nd, 3 consecutive defensive misplays by Texas cost the Rangers a pair of unearned runs, allowing the first-place White Sox to eke out an opening game victory. The White Sox managed only 4 runs on 4 hits, but that was enough for Jason Beret to record the victory over Roger Pavlik, who deserved better. Roberto Hernandez came on for his league-leading 28th save in that one. Home runs by Frank Thomas for the White Sox and Jose Canseco for the Rangers. The Rangers came back on August 3rd, scoring 8 runs in the first and cruising to victory. It was Canseco who started the fun with a 2-run single. A 3rd run scored on a throwing error. Later in the inning, a bases-clearing double by Rafael Palmeiro blew the game open for the Rangers. Kevin Brown was shaky early for Texas, but settled down to go 8 innings for the victory. Back in action on August 4th, the Rangers picked up another win in dramatic fashion on 2-run homers by Rafael Palmeiro in the 5th and Doug Strange in the 6th, as Texas came from behind for the victory. Kenny Rogers managed to hold the White Sox sluggers at bay for 7 innings, outdueling 13-game winner Alex Fernandez to win it for Texas, and Tom Hankey came on to pick up his 24th save. And on August 5th, the series finale, the Rangers pick up the victory as Nolan Ryan improves to 7-3 on the season, behind 8 strong innings of work for the victory. Doug Strange hit another 2-run homer to open the scoring for Texas, and the Rangers added on with home runs by Juan Gonzalez and Dean Palmer. So it was a good start to the week for the Rangers, taking 3 out of 4 over the division-leading Chicago White Sox. But their fortunes would change when the Seattle Mariners came to town. The Mariners, behind Ken Griffey Jr., took Game 1 9-2 as Griffey went 3 for 5 with a home run and 2 doubles, pacing the Seattle offense to an 11-hit night and a blowout victory over Texas in the series opener. Mike Blowers drove in 3 runs, and Greg Litton homered and scored 3 times for Seattle in support of winning pitcher Dave Fleming. Texas came back on August the 7th to even the series behind a solid performance by Kevin Brown. Brown put up 7 1/3 innings of 9-hit 3-run pitching while striking out 7. Juan Gonzalez showed signs of fighting through his August slump, crushing his 40th home run of the season, along with 3 hits apiece by veterans Jose Canseco and Julio Franco. Edgar Martinez went 3 for 3 for Seattle with a homer and a double, but committed 2 costly errors at third base to harm the Mariner cause as the Rangers evened the series. On August 8th, it was Randy Johnson dominating the Rangers, striking out 14 in a complete game 5-hit shutout. Kenny Rogers was clearly overmatched as Seattle jumped on him for 7 runs in the first 2 innings, putting an end to the suspense early in this one, as the Rangers took the finale of the series and won the series 2-1. Finally, the California Angels came to town for a 3-game series. Fine pitching performances in all 3 of these games. Roger Pavlik produced another gem for Texas on August the 10th, going the distance for a 3-hit shutout, walking 3 and striking out 6. Homers by Dean Palmer and Butch Davis gave Pavlik the offense he needed to pick up his 10th win of the season, still leading the Rangers in that category. On August the 11th, it was Mark Langston who struck back for the Angels, firing a 3-hit shutout to even the series. Very similar performance to Pavlik's opening game masterpiece, clamping down the Rangers on 3 hits and 3 walks while striking out 7. Nolan Ryan started for Texas and matched Langston for 3 1/3 innings before Ryan was forced to leave the game with an undisclosed injury, forcing the Texas bullpen to shoulder the load. Todd Burns didn't pitch badly in relief, but couldn't hang with Langston as Mark Langston picked up win number 14 of the season. And on August 12th, it was Chuck Finley recording his 14th win of the season as the Rangers' hitting woes continued. Finley pitched 6 innings and stymied the Texas offense. Texas finally broke through in the 7th with a home run by Juan Gonzalez, but California had already jumped out to a 4-0 lead, and they padded that lead against the Texas bullpen to put the game out of the reach of Texas and give the finale to the Angels, who win that series 2-1. So Texas also goes 5-5 on the week. Both the Reds and Rangers went 5-5 this week. In the coming week, each team has 6 games on tap. Cincinnati will face off against the New York Mets August 16th through 18th. And then the Montreal Expos come to town for a 3-game set. Texas will play host to the Boston Red Sox, who are on the 24th through the 26th, and the division-leading Baltimore Orioles on top of the AL East on August 27th through the 29th. Currently, Cincinnati stands at 55-60 on the season, 4 games behind their 1993 regular season pace. Texas comes in at 58-57, only 1 game back of their 1993 pace. Different seasons for 1993 as Cincinnati would spin out down the stretch and win only 73 games for the season against 89 losses. Texas would move up to an 86-76 record, but still fall well short of the division-leading Chicago White Sox, who would go on to win the pennant in the AL West in the 1993 season. All right, so that is your recap for the week. Next week, we will be back with the end of August of 1993. And until then, thanks for checking us out. That's our stream, and I am out of here.